Welcome back to the Aligned and Unstoppable podcast. This is episode number 377 with Theresa. We are having so much fun in this episode. I just have to warn you because not only do we laugh so much, but we go into these little sidebar conversations that are hysterical. So if you like to laugh and you like to learn about websites, you're going to love this episode. We are going to break down the 5 biggest mistakes that you can make on your website and how to really fix it, because they're very simple, quick fixes, but you want to clean it up a little bit, because ideally when your soulmate client finds you and they find your website, what do you want them to do? You want them to click, work with me, buy my thing, book a call, whatever it is. And getting these tips from Liz is going to really help you to maximize that potential. So also we mentioned how I was on Liz's episode of her podcast, Liz on Biz. We're going to have all of that for you in the show notes. Make sure as you're listening to take a screenshot and tag me and Theresa on Instagram. Let us know you're listening. And if you feel called out, let us know. Just say, hey, listen, I made mistake number 1, or I made all 5. That's okay. We got you. No worries. So take a listen, take notes, and make sure that you clean up those websites so people who want to work with you can. All right, here's this week's episode. Listeners, and welcome back to the podcast. I have my friend Theresa here with us, and I hope that you were smart enough to know that I was on Liz's podcast and already listened to it. But if you haven't, go over to Liz on Biz podcast number 253. You get to listen to us talk. I did some we had a deep conversation. It was unexpectedly deep and also quite humorous, I'd have to say. We have fun together. But I was on Liz's podcast and I was like, you have to come on the Aligned and Unstoppable podcast. Everybody's going to love you. And interestingly, sometimes before I have a guest on, I'll just sort of open up, like, what's coming up? What do we want to talk about? And Liz is really best known for websites and web design. And what did you call it? Revamps. Right. So website revamps. So if you're wanting to rebrand and get higher conversions and get your customers to love you more, she's been doing a lot of those lately. But we're going to talk about some of the mistakes that people often make about websites. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about the 5 biggest, really in your face mistakes that you see all the time. We had this great list going. But before we do, I want to kind of back up a little bit, because I'm sure listeners are curious to know more about you. How did you get into this space of websites, and how you're so passionate about brands and style and all of these things that come together so beautifully in your work? So take us back a little bit.
Oh God, I'd love to. So websites are important. Everybody remember that. I have a shirt that says I love websites, because I really do. I really love websites, because your marketing is only as effective as your site. Okay. Because your marketing is the thing that drives the traffic. And where I kind of landed on that is that I started my business as a social media marketer, and I would make these ad campaigns for people and this is back in the day. All right. It was a long time ago. And I would drive all this traffic and they'd be like, Liz, I'm not getting sales. Liz, I'm not getting sales. And I'm like, well, I can't change where they're making that decision, because the decision happens on the website. Sales decisions happen on the website. Knowing and trusting happens on the marketing. So I was getting people to love these brands, but then they didn't want to buy anything because they got there and it just looked like a big dumpster fire. You don't want to give money to a dumpster fire.
No, not usually.
Not usually.
Although I have, but it's seldom. Very, very seldom.
Very seldom.
Sorry for you.
Know what I'm doing here. I don't know. It's like when you're buying something from off the back of a truck. You don't want it to feel like that on a website.
I'm only here, you're in a bad neighborhood. I'm only here because my friend told me it was a really good place to go. And I just want to get in and out.
And then you're very sorry. Yeah. And then you might like the thing, but then you don't want to replicate that experience. And that's why when people say, oh, websites don't matter, I'm like, slap, wake up. Yes, they do. You should be intentional about how people find you. You don't want to have your pants down for that.
No, for that.
Dot. Right?
for that specific. I agree. And I know,
Yeah.
I mean, if I wish I had screenshots of like my OG websites that were just like real hot messes and like maybe no calls to action and just like a lot of text about who knows what. Harsh colors and like just all of those things. So yeah, I've gone through a lot of iterations and I feel like as soon as it's done, you're like, give me a minute. I need to redo it now because we evolve and change so quickly. I feel like so I've been working on this experience, and through this experience, which is basically a webinar, I have really honed in on my messaging and like really pared down. Like, people really need to know about this alignment thing, and how can I bring that into other places? So it's hitting like so many different things, and so I feel like with different projects, it can probably affect people in different ways, as well as like just even getting a photo shoot done. Like, okay, how do I want to show up? How do I want to use these photos? How do I want people to interact with my brand and see me and experience all that?
It's your footing. Your website's your footing. Your branding too. I always say branding is a living document. And that's why when I make websites, I always make sure they're click to edit friendly, because like otherwise, why would you give somebody something that they're like, it's like buying a new car. Websites are a lot like cars. They look very old the next year suddenly. Often, unless like, I mean, especially if you get a theme, because like themes that were cool a few years ago will look really like odd. Look like a Polaroid instead of like a high resolution photo, and then you're like, what happened? It happens. It happens. Right. Yeah.
Right. There's a wonderful woman who I love. She's an amazing healer and she lives in a different state, and I've worked with her in person, and her website I think is from 1990. Like it's that kind of a brand. I'm like, oh, and like there's literally no contact information on it.
And you're like, I don't know what this is for.
I don't know. I only have your number because somebody gave it to me. I can't find it on your website anywhere. So I think obviously we could probably talk about all kinds of iterations of website disasters and dumpster fires. But what I want to talk about, you gave 5 really great tangible examples of what people have been doing wrong and how to fix it, basically. So the first one you said is the upper right-hand quadrant. People are not using them the way they're supposed to be. So what are they doing and what are they supposed to be doing?
So what's so weird about websites is that when you go there, your eyes actually kind of go in a zigzag when you're looking at the screen. And we do this so quickly, you're almost not going to believe that you do it. You're going to be like, Liz, I don't know, I'm reading left or right where I live. And I'm like, no, listen, sister. All right. You actually go right, left, right. So kind of like if you picture it like, what is that? The less than or greater than? I'm not a math person.
It's one of those. Yeah.
It looks like Pac-Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it goes right, left, right. Then it'll be the less than. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's up. You got your math down, right? So if you know they're starting in the upper right-hand corner of your page, that means that you need to be very intentional about that part of your site. So on liztheresa.com, I actually put my lead magnet, has a big button, and it even wiggles because I'm very fun like that. So it goes wiggle and to make people want to click it in the upper right hand quadrant. You'll notice when you go to Google or Amazon, that's where you sign up, register now, log in. A lot of websites, that's the get started. So it's a very important spot. But a problem that I see is that like a lot of times people will accidentally put their social media icons, so they're actually inadvertently driving traffic away. Especially if you're getting traffic from social media, why send them back where they came from?
Right. Get out of here, you. Go back where you came from.
Go home. Nobody wants you. Yeah. And that's sending the wrong message.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like when I think of that too, is like, oh, a wiggle button. I'm already imagining like my website, like, oh, does my website want a wiggle button? How do I know if my website wants a wiggle button?
There's wiggle buttons. Oh my God, I've done so many very cool buttons. I've made buttons that look like you're actually pressing it, like it's 3D, and it goes like inside of itself.
Oh, like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Yeah. And he goes, hoo-hoo. What does he say? Does he say hoo-hoo?
That's what he says.
Oh my God, that was so good.
That was so good.
I do really good impersonations of like a lot of things.
Yeah, clearly. What's your like go-to impersonation?
I can do Pikachu.
Okay. Let's have
Pikachu.
it.
Pikachu.
Okay.
That's so good.
So good. My son would very much appreciate that.
Yeah, I do my son likes it because I do all of them, but I like yell them in his face. He gets so excited because he has like a Pokemon water bottle and like it has like all of them. And so I do all of them. I'm very good.
That's so cute. Well, I had to watch a YouTube video to draw Pikachu recently. So
how'd you do?
I did pretty well, actually. I mean, as far as replicating something on, YouTube video, I'm pretty good at it. And he was like mind blown watching me. And he was like, suddenly I went up in the ranking of like, coolness, mom. Like you could do that. He's like, this is amazing.
You were a Pokemaster.
Yeah, I guess so. So moving on, number 2.
I love it.
It's going to be a long podcast, everybody. Number 2, user experience. You're saying that there's like they're interrupting the user experience. That's not nice.
No, it's so mean, you guys. Have you ever gone to a website, you guys, and you went and it's just accosting you to download something, and it's like, wait, you big jerk. Shouldn't you download this? And so sometimes when we have pop-ups that are not installed properly, it can create a really bad experience for somebody that just knows what they're coming to your website for. Because people might actually go to your website because they know exactly what they want. They might be like, oh, I want to go schedule a call with this person. I want to go check out their podcast, whatever. But then if your pop-up, like pop-ups that are not closable or pop-ups that have been improperly installed and that are layered on top of one another, that's just not nice.
No. And I know I've actually been through, this is this like sad. I went through somebody's Facebook ad to opt into a thing. And when I went to the page to opt in, a pop-up came over the opt-in page. That's all it was. It was just an opt-in page and it had a pop-up. I was like, shit. Oh, I reached out to them. I was like, I don't know you, but this is not good. Just happening. It's not good.
Not good. Pop-ups on e-commerce pages too, I think are horrific. Like if you're trying to check out and buy something and then a pop-up, I'm like, what happened? Are you asleep? What?
It's not good. We don't like that. I actually don't like pop-ups ever, even if it's just once after however many visits or being on the website forever long. Like I will find it if I want to get on your, also like, I'm shocked in the year 2022 to still see footers that say join our newsletter. Like,
oh my God,
that's still happening. That's like, I'm like,
I don't want to.
Nobody wants to.
Nobody wants to. Well, like there's also, so I actually, in the camp of pop-ups, I only install them when asked. And I always like them to be exit intent pop-ups because it's the least abrasive.
Okay.
They don't appear on mobile devices. Another good thing.
That's nice.
And it's only when somebody's leaving. And it's only every 30 days. Okay. So they're the softest pop-ups.
Soft.
Also slide-ins. I love slide-ins.
Yeah, slide-ins. I'm not as offended by slide-ins.
They don't offend me.
Yeah, they're good.
No. Yeah.
Okay, great. Moving on. You don't know what they're selling. You go to their website and you're like, you're lost. You're not sure which way to go.
Well, and I think that's why on every single page of your website, no matter where people land, it's important to communicate who you are, what you do, and what you sell. And this is like a very basic thing. And so if you do anything, please do that right. And don't feel like you're pressured to say it differently on every page because repetition is just good marketing.
Yes. And so when you say who you are, what you sell, are you asking people to give a long form bio there, or what are we looking for? Because I know some people might hear those words and go, I need to tell people about my life story right now.
Oh, no. Yeah. Very good point. Yeah. As long as I know, like, for example, Emily, on your site, I know that you're a coach in a basic sense. I know your name is Emily. So there you got who you are, what you do, and then what you sell. So like private coaching. That tab is at least visible on every page, but like sometimes you'll go to a site and it'll be like home about services contact, and it might be a coach. It's a person. You're like, she's a speaker. What do they do? Is there a book here? Like if the person is like, I don't know how this person fits into my world. That's the experience of the user when they don't know.
And so
So
they automatically say, no, thank you. I have enough
taglines
people.
are often your friend too.
Yeah.
Like a tagline can do that. Put the onus on the tagline.
I was just talking to a woman I'm contracting with to do some work, and we are making some strides in updating my YouTube channel. And one of the things we were doing was a little short video intro, just like a little, kind of wave in and then a wave out. And we were coming up with a tagline for it. And I was like, this is going to be all over my website. Like I could just feel that simplicity coming in. And I really like that. So I like the idea that you just mentioned a tagline.
Yeah. And I love video intros. They're so fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
So fun. And I did see yours on your website, like about Liz, and everyone's like, I love Liz. She's so good.
Isn't it great? And the intro goes, it's
very
so
momentous.
Cool. It's very, you think it's like the Super Bowl when you click to watch it.
Yeah.
It's big.
I was waiting for the bursting through the piece of paper thing. Yeah. But you had bangs in that one. I was like, I don't even know this, Liz.
I know that's baby Liz. We need a new reel.
Yeah.
On that page. Yeah. That's little Liz.
Yeah. Now you're like a mature hair flick.
I'm blonde right now too.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
It works for my personality.
For sure. You could probably have any color hair. It would work for that personality.
I think I've thought about it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting freaky.
I've gone through color spectrums. I've stayed pretty neutral lately, but back in the day,
B in the D.
Yeah.
Do you ever say B in the D?
No, never.
Now you will.
I will not. If I catch myself, I will call you immediately, like, Liz.
You've infected me.
It happens.
It happens. I'm not proud of it.
Okay. Number 4. As long as we're having fun with this list.
Yes.
I think the listeners will enjoy this. 4. Closely competing calls to action.
This was a problem, B in the D. No, I'm just kidding. This is a problem all the time, you guys.
I feel like B in the D doesn't work.
Are
there's
you sure?
Some question. I feel like the D has some other implications.
Well, if you call it the D. Well, then what's the B?
Some people do.
Do things go in the D? Can they?
Yes.
Is this become a sex ed class?
An entirely different podcast episode.
I was like, isn't it exit only?
Oh my God. A lot of things, fun fact, most things, while you think that it's an exit only, sometimes it's not.
There was a guy that one time put rocks in his D. And he had to and my friend who's a doctor had to fix it. He was from prison because they did that in jail.
Okay.
They put rocks in there, you cut it and you put rocks in, and it's supposed to create an experience.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry. Is this explicit?
It's not. I think this is just
scientific data. Alignment. Yeah. I'm not in alignment with doing that.
That's how I know the rocks in alignment is what
they were lighting them up. So gross. They're gonna be like, I'm never listening to Liz on Biz. Hang up. I was gonna say they hang up their phone, but instead, and they can't even close their.
You can't
phone.
Even remember the
be able to hang up so well.
Oh my gosh, that phone aggression! You just slam that phone on the receiver, smash it closed.
Now you throw an iPhone, you're getting a new phone.
Yeah, you're getting that upgrade, that nice one, that nice one with the 3 cameras, not just the 2.
Yeah, they know what's up. But no, closely competing calls to action. This is actually something that's not in alignment with your best interest in making your website a lead converter. And oftentimes this will happen when you have buttons that are placed too close to one another. Or if you're getting a little too excited with the color red or any kind of big high vibrancy color. If you place 2 high vibrancy colors and buttons next to each other, it's going to be, it'll be loud, but if something is loud, you can't hear what's different. If you have 2 things yelling at you, you're not going to make a decision.
Yeah. So what you mean by the 2 call to action too is you were talking about the book a 15-minute call, buy my coaching, buy this thing, all sort of together, clumped up closely, that they're having to make a decision between which one do I do.
especially like in the welcome X, the area and the on a regular homepage, you're usually like, oh, welcome, I'm Liz, I'm really cool, look at me. And then it'll be like, schedule a call with Liz, learn more about Liz, like that thing. You have to be really careful about placing anything that's going to detract attention from scheduling a call, assuming that in my case, that is my number one. Yeah.
How do you, the sidebar, how do you feel about free, like, get to know you calls, the 15-minute, like, hey, pick my brain, or, you know, what do they call, discovery calls? What do you feel about those?
I do them because for me, that's been how I sell. So like for me, I've just done it. I think though it can get hairy and it can fall when people, like, I'll have clients that'll be like, you know, I have like a lot of no-shows, or they'll have a problem. And if it starts to create a lot of dissonance, it means that it's no longer in alignment, probably, which would be something that you can sniff out even better than me.
Oh, for sure.
And then, and usually, like, I mean, I have a buddy of mine and she owns a marketing company. And she had like a lot of no-shows, and she's like, that's it. I only want people that are serious. And we switched her to an application model.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah. That's what happened to me when I first started working online, and I did like free, I called them clarity calls. And I knew a clarity call was a sales call. It was, tell me where it hurts. I will give you a solution via one of my things. Yeah. And they thought it, even though I would say like explicitly, like, I understand this is not a healing session, click box. So it was not a clear thing. And people would call and they're like, tell me what I should do in my business. And like, it was or no shows. Yeah. And I've had friends and clients who've changed to the paying method of like book a call, and it's a fee or application. And I am opening up more one-on-one work with me. And through that process, I made an intake form that really basically says like your basic information, but also how much money you make in here. Because I know if I'm going to take the call or if I'm going to cancel the call based on your revenue, if you're not even qualified to work with me, I can just let you know, like in a nice way, like, you know what, here's some other things that you can do now, but this isn't the right, you know, thing for us. So you can kind of screen them that way.
Yeah. If you haven't, like, if you know, for example, your average client at least grosses, let's just say $60,000.
Yeah.
I don't know, making it up, or 100. And you can be explicit. I have a client that she does bookkeeping, and she only works with companies that make $250,000 or more. Because otherwise she's like, what am I doing here? Yeah. She's like, that means that they're not going to want to pay the retainer, and it's going to feel like a stretch for them. And why should it when they can find somebody less expensive?
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, while I can help people who are in certain lower financial brackets, it's not where my zone of genius is, because what they need of me is different than what people who are in a much higher income bracket really need. And then I can go like really serve at my highest level. And I love that. So back to this. So we have our fifth one, which is mobile responsiveness, which is kind of like, you would think it's obvious, but it's really not, unless you're on mobile trying to access somebody's website and you're like, where is this thing already?
Yeah. So there's so much I can say about mobile responsiveness. For one, Google will ding you and penalize you for not being mobile responsive. So if your site has mobile issues, you're not the only one who's going to notice. Your clients will notice, your prospects, and Google. And you do have to appease those people at Google.
Yes.
And so that's kind of wicked big. The next thing I would say about it is, don't underestimate like all screen sizes. So this is why developers really exist, by the way, is because we design and build mobile responsively. So we're worried about your screen sizes before you know to be worried about it. And then we make it impossible for it to look dumb. But like, if you're DIYing, you're not a developer. So like, you're not paying attention to all of it. So like the mini, because there's like the iPhone SE, the iPhone mini.
Yeah.
And then all the way up to the iPhone fancy Pros.
Yeah.
Tablet view.
Yeah.
Websites screw up tablet view.
Yes.
So royally bad.
Yes.
Oh, that one is like, check your vertical tablet view. Heinous. Fix it. Please fix it. I fix those more than anything, tablet view. It really matters though.
Yes.
Yeah. People ignore the tablet. But you can't.
No, you can't. I mean, a
No.
lot of, and I even know like with, cause I use Kajabi for some of my stuff, which I don't love. It's not user friendly for me or like designer-y friendly. It works-ish,
Yeah.
but then it has problems and you can't do basic things sometimes, but they do have a view. So you can preview it in the different angles of desktop, tablet, and mobile, and you can see your stuff go all over the screen in each of
Yeah.
those views. So there's a lot of times that you actually need to create different sections that it's different entirely for mobile or tablet versus how it looks on your lovely wide desktop.
Yeah, my site has an example of that. There's a collage of pictures of me with my clients on my homepage, and it's wide. And
Yeah.
then as you shrink, it'll like, because my site, well, it's responsive, so it snaps. And then all of a sudden, the collage, rather than being a wide collage, it's a vertical collage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it changes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that people, especially people listening, know that these are great foundational ways to just like quick and dirty, fix these things up. And you mentioned that there are some like DIY sites that are superior and
Yes.
some not so much. So for folks who are doing it themselves, do you recommend a specific type of service?
Yeah, Squarespace, and don't fight the template. Go with the flow on the template, even if it's not exactly what you want, because save exactly what you want for when you hire somebody like me, a company like mine that can actually make you a professional website, and avoid Weebly. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Avoid, I really don't like Wix. I really don't like Wix websites either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is because
they look very janky on mobile.
Okay.
And they also have a lot of SEO issues as well.
Okay.
Based on the way that they're physically built and that the sites are mapped. It's just not appropriate. They're not palatable. It's like eating food that has a lot of gluten.
Yeah.
As opposed to like WordPress, which is gluten-free. That's I build on WordPress.
Okay.
And also know that can I dispel a myth really quick?
I would love that.
So like sometimes people assume things about like WordPress in particular. What I've noticed, they're like, well, I don't like it because I used it once in 2007 and I didn't like it. And what I would like to tell you is that WordPress, like Squarespace, like everything else, things change. And also the way that one developer does something on WordPress in 2007 is different than how I do it now. Like I make it really easy for clients to edit, and that's something that I have to educate. That's why I do discovery calls, so I can make them believe me, because they don't believe it. Like they think that they can't do it because so many things seem hard. And I think it's important. Squarespace is not hard. That's why I always say DIY there, because it's hard to screw up.
Yeah. And I think that there is a transitional period when we go from this is my hobby on the side to like, this is my career, this is my passion, and this is what I want to be known for, my legacy. So we sort of have to invest ourselves in a different way. And I know for folks who are, picketing going, but I don't have the money for a website designer. So I've worked with a number of different website designers at various income, like they different charge for different things. Some are just project-based, some are full website redesigns, some are, let me fix that thing that the other person fucked up for you. So I want to say this is an opportunity to start researching. I mean, look at what Liz is doing and shop around, like look for somebody who speaks your language. Also, I've noticed that people I tend to work with who are on the woo-woo spectrum tend to find it easier to help me, because like they're not like, what is this thing that she's doing? I don't understand. Like they kind of like are a little, doubty and like maybe don't understand the language so much, which is sometimes a good thing, because they can bring a flag to something that goes like, well, what does that even mean? And I go, oh, that's not like everybody doesn't know that. Oh. So that's helpful in my messaging. But it is really helpful to work with people who are interested in the similar things. Not, they don't have to be like 100% into your thing, but if you're at least on the same wavelength, I feel like that energy, it creates that real nice relationship. And I have had long-term relationships with website developers because of that. And, I think it's a really healthy thing. Do you find that you work with people who you kind of connect with in a deeper way too?
Oh, I have to. Yeah. I have requirements for a good client on my website, which I'm really proud of. And it's a big FYI about like, I require a good personality, a partly sunny outlook on life, and a sense of humor. Please, God, have a sense of humor. And if you don't, please don't call me because I just don't want to be bothered. And it's true. And that does weed out the riffraff because people will see that and be like, oh, that's not professional.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
you're right.
You're right.
It's not, you're not.
Goodbye.
If you don't like me now, okay.
That's not even like me being me. That's just honest. And so then I'm like, oh, geez, then that's not going to work. So I have found that that plus the discovery call have been my ways of weeding out a lot of the riffraff. But like, I think that whenever you show up as yourself, like authentically, and I really mean that, and you show up like I'm truly Liz every time I show up.
Yes.
And then that's enough for people to get a sense of my energy and know like, oh, like I like how she smells.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You don't stink of desperation and, awkwardness. And I think also having your podcast is such a beautiful platform that you can just be yourself without having to edit and pare it down. I think that's why podcasts do work, because people, they do get to know you. They feel like they know you and love you. And we were just talking about like, oh, are you going to any in-person things? And when I do go to in-person events with people, they're like, I feel like we are best friends and that we share common interests because I listen to you every single week and we're together. And when you build those kinds of relationships, I think it does make it easier for people to book those calls or to say yes, or like see your copy. And when you look at Liz's website, you're going to feel that energy. You're going to feel that tone. You're like, I know exactly who she's talking to. And as a marketer, because as business owners, we are all marketers, like, look at that as such a great example of like, she's talking to her soulmate client. She's really feeling the energy coming in through her words, through her images, through her colors. And like, you don't even have to really read word for word. You can just get that feeling from,
thank you.
You're very welcome. This honestly, like, I mean, that's truly what you feel. And that's what you want someone to feel when they go to your website. Like, oh, this is an easy yes. And oh, I want to do that thing. So, I want to bring people in because before we were starting to record, I was feeling like there's something else that wants to come in beyond websites that is coming up for you. And like, there feels like a shift that's coming. And you shared that you were watching one of my recent IG lives, which I've been super geeking out about. I've had so much fun. I think it's unfair how much fun I have when I do these like little mini readings with people. I'm just like, I do them online, but when I'm face to face with people and those little, I just have so much fun. So fun. And turns out my audience really wants me to make them laugh and they enjoy that levity, even when I'm talking about deep stuff. So you had mentioned that there was somebody who I did a reading for, I believe it was Renee York, and she's a dear friend and she's a past client. And she was sort of debating about a membership, and you were saying that there was something in that message that was for you and you just happened to be watching at that moment that then later led into something bigger of what's coming. So I would love for you to kind of spill the dirt a little bit.
Thank you. Oh, I would be so excited to spill some tea. So basically what she had kind of presented was that she'd been trying to launch a membership, and you had shared that sometimes when we think about launching memberships, there's always this onus, or like we feel like an urge to give and give and give and give. And then we'll keep adding things to it because we think if we add more things to it, it'll make people spend more or want to buy it more. And really that's just like, it doesn't have to be that way. And that things can be really, really simple. So your advice was to pull things away from it. And I had been coming up. I even made a sales page. It's beautiful for a membership I didn't want to launch. Right. Yeah. So then I was like,
how many hours?
Right. You wonder about that. How many hours did I spend on that? But then I'm like, I'm going to reuse it for something else. But what's weird is that I did keep doing that. I was like, well, it includes this. It also includes this. And da, 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 da. Like I'm on a game show saying what you'll win if you give me your money. And then I was like, wait, if I really wanted to do this as something I wanted to do that didn't stress me out, that was an easy buy, this is what would it be? Like if I could simplify this. And so I'm calling it the social post subscription, or it's going to be called the social post membership.
Yeah.
It's legit $9 a month. I know, I'm just shaking things up.
Great.
And what you get is every week, I'm going to make it really easy for my clients to be visible, because actually my mission of my business is to rise and be the star. And so often when we think that there's a wagon with visibility on social media, and I'm basically saying, oh my God, there's no wagon. There's just showing up or not showing up. You don't fall off a wagon and think you have to say, hey, is this thing on? Every time you go do a post, you can just go and post. And so every week you'll receive a prompt, right? It's like, yeah, that's what people do. They're like, can I just
testing?
Testing. Yeah, that's like
I know I haven't been on for a while. Like,
whenever people do that,
I never noticed.
Like, no. Yeah, they always like are embarrassed about it. I'm like, what are you doing? Get out of your own head. And so basically it's going to be a weekly social media prompt. And I think especially now, and I do mean with the state of the world being as hectic as it is, I think that there's a space for somebody to help you do it with intention and savvy. So you're not tone deaf, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's where I insert myself. I'm very excited.
I think that's so beautiful. And really that's been the energy leading into this beginning of the new year. Both you and I were totally sick in January, and you said you slept all of January. I slept half of January. I was trying to keep one eye open the whole time. But it's really after that, I would call it a sacred pause, but after that rest period, that your system is kind of like ready for something new, but you're no longer tolerant of all the other bullshit. It's like, listen, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. If it's not simple, I'm not doing it. And I think we all have to draw the line to do that, because I feel like so many business owners are following people and, you know, who are ahead of them and following their strategies and their processes. And it's like, it's so much, it's so overcomplicated. Like, what is the simplest, easiest thing for you? And how can it be more fun? How could, and I'm doing the same thing of like, I just need things to be simple and enjoyable. And, you know, what you're giving people is a high value every single week at a very low price. That's like so reasonable that people can like, well, why would I not do it? Like, it's costing me more not to do.
It's like awkward if you don't buy it. And that's what I wanted the price to be. I wanted it to be awkwardly low, but it's so I can expand my impact. In a really fun and fulfilling way. That doesn't kill me. And you know what I mean? But will help so many people not do the, hey, is this thing on?
Hey, is this thing on?
Right?
I think that's the hey, is this thing on, combined with I'm just posting here to let you know I'm going to be taking a break from social media.
Oh God, you're not an airplane. You don't need to announce it.
Like, I'm always like, why does this need to be an announcement, like a formal State of the Union address? Everybody, all of my followers, all of you,
buckle up.
The 3 who've seen me this week. Like, I just don't understand the purpose of that. Like, if you're going to leave, just like deuces, peace out, like go and live your life, like live your best life off of social media, delete all the apps. I don't know, just do it. But I always found it confusing. Like, I feel like there's just a little bit of them that's like, I'm going to just watch this to see how many likes and comments I get for real, like a minute, maybe a day, 2 days max, a week. And then I will totally delete these apps. It's like, just go. I think that's okay. We have to give ourselves permission to also be off the apps. I have a friend who is like a big name published author with huge following. And she just was like, done. I'm done with all the apps. She told her publisher, like, it's a big house publisher, and she's like, I'm not doing social media anymore. And she runs in similar circles, and people around her are like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. She's like, so do it. No, I just do it. But it takes courage, and it takes innovation and sort of like a different way. But you better believe she's updating her website and keeping it like really fresh. And she's doing all kinds of really interesting things outside of those platforms that her audience really, really likes and enjoys. So so if you get anything from this, please don't announce your departure from social media.
No need for a press release. No.
I think this has been really helpful for people, and certainly, you know, as I evolve my websites, I'll be hearing you haunting me in the back of my head always. Always. Yes.
Yeah.
So as we mentioned at the beginning, I was on Liz on Biz, her podcast, number 253. This episode will be also linked in our show notes as well, so you guys can find it really easily. You don't have to work hard for it, but we did have like a Googling it race against each other. We tied. It was good.
It was good.
So obviously we have fun. Every time we've hung out together, we're like, I think we just became best friends.
Yeah.
So how do people find you? Because obviously if they're hearing you here, they're going to really want to find you and hang out with you too.
Oh yeah. It's weird if you don't. So it's liztheresa.com, LizTheresa, and I'm Liz Theresa everywhere. Liz on Biz podcast is so good. Go check out Emily's episode.
Yes, please do. And what's his name? What's his name that you interviewed from the style show? Oh my gosh. Clinton Kelly. Oh my gosh. That was such a fun episode. Yeah. That was such a fun episode.
He's the best.
He's great.
Love Clinton.
Yes.
Yeah.
So fun.
The coolest.
It's the coolest. So we'll have these takeaways for you guys in the show notes as well, in case you were driving and you couldn't take notes. But I want you to remember these and really start to take into action. So do me a favor. I know that you all love taking action. Take a screenshot of this episode. Make sure you tag me and Liz Theresa on Instagram. Say hi. Let us know what your biggest takeaway was. And what was your biggest boo-boo? Like, be honest with us. Like, let us know. What did you do? Come on, be honest. Which one? Or is it like all five? You just raising your hand slowly in the corner. But let us know. And I hope that this was helpful so that you can really help attract the people you want and help serve them at your highest level. So Liz, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much.
It's awesome.